Kristen is a pro-life Catholic mother of 3 beautiful children and a children's environmental health advocate. She's the founder of Psalm, Protecting the Sanctity of All Life movement, and is also running as a Democratic candidate for state representative in the 84th District of Lycoming County. Please join me in welcoming Kristen.
All right. Good afternoon. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out to stand up and defend our fundamental right to religious freedom. As some of you may know, this is our second rally in Williamsport. We held our first rally on March 23rd. I thought I was too busy organizing the Protecting the Sanctity of All Life movement and working on our evangelical and Roman Catholic joint declaration on life that I didn't have time to organize the first rally, or so I thought. I didn't even have running as the Democratic candidate for state representative in the 84th District of Lycoming County on my mind at the time. Apparently God had other plans for me. God is kind of funny that way. 10 days before the rally, I finally got the message. You and Sarah, Kristen. Suddenly, I found myself as the rally captain for the Williamsport National Rally for Religious Freedom. I called Sarah Reed and asked her if she'd help me pull this off in 10 days. She agreed to help. Neither of us had any experience in organizing a public event, but only through the grace of God, bringing us an amazing community of people, it was a great success. We knew on March 23rd, if Health and Human Services didn't rescind the mandate, we'd be rallying again. So here we are, ready to defend our right to the freedom of religion. It is apparent on federal and state levels that our rights are being stripped from us one by one. If we don't stand up now, we'll lose the rights that our founding fathers put in place for us, and brave men and women, past and present, fight to defend. Which leads me to an article that I'd like to read some excerpts from, written by Cardinal Timothy Dolan, President of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops on Memorial Day. Lord, to whom shall we go? Freedom is worth defending. It's the evening of Memorial Day as I write this column. Never can we forget those patriots who gave their all in service to our beloved country. Earlier, I took a stroll outside of St. Patrick's Cathedral and chatted with some of our men in uniform, sailors in Fleet Week. As I try to do when I meet our men and women in the armed forces, I thank them for their service to our nation. That seems especially appropriate on Memorial Day. You're welcome, one of the men replied, but freedom is worth defending. Bravo. Maybe some folks are a little tired of hearing about it, but our priests who are on the ground tell me I should not flag in presenting and explaining the church's high-profile posture in our defense of religious freedom. It's not a struggle we asked for. I wish it would end, and it could so very easily. The President himself has recognized that a church can and should receive an exemption from a mandate of government that a church considers contrary to its conscience. But it is not only churches that enjoy religious freedom. Religious schools, charities, hospitals, and other ministries do as well. If he would include those as well, there would be no religious freedom controversy. He'd have his program, and religion would have its freedom. Under the definition, the federal government has presumed to define just what hoops a community of faith must jump through to earn the right to an exemption. You know what those hoops are? Well, to be exempt, you have to serve primarily people of your own faith, employ primarily people of your own faith, rather than, say, service, charity, education, or healing. So to earn the exemption, our soup kitchens will presumably have to ask those in line for their baptismal certificates, and if there are too many, to turn away non-Catholics. Our inner city schools, which so often serve more non-Catholics than Catholics, I guess we'll have to start expelling or turning down kids who are not Catholic. Our homeless shelters will have to give catechism lessons in the Catholic faith to those who show up just for a shower, fresh clothes, a hot meal, and a cot for the night. You see why we're worried? The HH definition apparently only accepts the right of worship, but not the freedom to serve those in need and bring religious values to society that flows from such worship. As Father Larry Snyder, the director of Catholic Charities USA, remarked, Even Jesus feeding 5,000 would not qualify for an exemption, according to the HHS. All Washington has to do is say any entity that finds these mandates morally objectionable is not coerced to do them, and leave it at there. How simple, how constitutional, how American. This is not about access to contraception. The church is hardly trying to impose its views on society, but rather resisting the government's attempt to force its views on us. It's hardly a Republican or Democrat issue, or conservative or liberal one. The dignity of immigrants, service to refugees and victims of human trafficking, the definition of a Catholic college, or coerced provision that's subsidizing of abortifacients. None of those are partisan or ideological issues. This is not an anti-President Obama campaign, as he himself recognizes that people of faith have a right to an exemption, and has promised that he would respect the freedom of religion and the rights of conscience. Our opponents are much slicker in the PR battle, knowing that if they can reduce this to a women's health issue, they've got a chance, but they have none at all when they debate what it really is, the Constitution and the premier freedom, that of religion. As that sailor on the steps of St. Patrick's Cathedral reminded me on Memorial Day, freedom is worth defending. Bravo. We need to keep in mind, this is me, not Cardinal Bowen, the words that he said, freedom is always worth defending. All this is really about is religious freedom, not about contraception or women's health. The church is not trying to impose its views on society, but we're resisting the government's attempt to force its views on us. It's hardly a Republican or Democrat issue or a conservative versus a liberal one. It's not even a Catholic issue. It's not an anti-President Obama campaign. None of those are partisan or ideological issues. This is not about women's health. The issues facing Americans today result in division where God intends unity of will and purpose. Over time, mistrust and discord have risen among particular groups, especially as political ideologies have claimed one cause or another in their individual quest to define and defend what is good. We must come together as Americans and Pennsylvanians to defend our fundamental rights, regardless of denomination or political affiliation. Are you with me? I'll leave you with the words of Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. May God bless each of you, and God bless America. Thank you.